In the question and answer column in Economic Review in November 2013, I promised to say a little bit more about the effect of immigration on labour markets. Essentially because there are two different ways of looking at this particular topic. First of all, notice that one possibility is that immigrants will be substitutes for native workers. In other words, they'll be competing for jobs with the domestic workers in the domestic economy already. So if immigration takes place, the supply of labour shifts to the right, and we see that the effect on the labour market is for the employment to rise and the wage to fall. So effectively what's happening is that the immigrants are prepared to accept lower wages than local residents, some of whom will lose their jobs and others of which will end up being paid at a lower wage. However, this may not always be the case. There may be situations in which the skills, occupations, characteristics of immigrant workers are quite different from those of native workers. In this case, the effect on the labour market will be very different. So, for example, if immigrants come in and undertake jobs which were previously not being done, this will have a quite different effect on employment in other areas of the labour market. In fact, what will happen is that because incomes have increased, so demand for goods in general has increased, so the demand for labour will tend to shift to the right. And in fact, what will happen in this case is that employment will rise and wages of native workers will also rise. So we see that the impact of immigration on the labour market depends crucially on whether the workers entering the country are competing with native workers for jobs, or whether they are complementing and thus expanding employment in the domestic labour force. Thank you.